You may think your dog trusts you because they come when called, because they sit on command, because they greet you excitedly every time you walk through the door. But here's an uncomfortable truth. None of those things automatically mean trust. A dog can obey someone they fear. A dog can follow someone they depend on. A dog can even appear affectionate while still feeling emotionally uncertain. Real trust is far quieter than most people realize. And once a dog gives it to you, it becomes one of the most precious gifts you'll ever receive. The deepest signs of trust rarely happen when your dog is trying to impress you. They don't happen during training sessions. They don't happen when treats are involved. And they don't happen when your dog is seeking attention. Instead, they appear in small, almost invisible moments that many owners overlook every single day. Moments when your dog stops performing, stops managing the world around them, and simply lets you see who they truly are. Because trust, in a dog's world, is everything. Dogs don't evaluate relationships the way humans do. They don't care about status. They don't care about money. They don't care how successful someone appears. Instead, their minds are constantly asking a few simple questions. Am I safe? Will this person protect me? Can I relax around them? Will they understand me when I'm vulnerable? And when a dog consistently answers those questions with yes, something extraordinary happens. You stop being just their caretaker. You become their emotional home. The first sign is surprisingly easy to miss. Your dog sleeps deeply around you. Most people assume a sleeping dog is simply tired. But for dogs, sleep is an act of vulnerability. In the wild, sleeping deeply can be dangerous. A sleeping animal cannot react quickly, cannot defend itself, cannot escape. That's why dogs instinctively remain alert in unfamiliar environments. Have you ever noticed your dog lifting their head at the slightest sound when visiting a new place? Their body stays partially engaged with the world around them. But when they're home with you, something changes. Their muscles soften, their breathing slows, their eyes drift closed. Sometimes they sleep so deeply, they don't even notice you walking past them. What you're witnessing isn't laziness. It's trust. Your presence tells their nervous system that someone else is watching the world for them. Emotionally, it's as if your dog is saying, I don't have to stay on guard right now. I know you'll keep us safe. In a world where animals survive by staying alert, your dog has made a remarkable decision. They've decided that your presence is safer than vigilance. Think about that for a moment. Out of all the instincts evolution gave them, your dog trusts you enough to let them go. And that may be one of the greatest compliments a dog can ever offer. But sleeping peacefully isn't the strongest sign of trust. The next behavior reveals something even more powerful. It shows who your dog turns to when they aren't sure how to feel. The second sign is when your dog checks in with you during uncertain moments. Many owners mistake confidence for independence. But dogs are social creatures. When something unfamiliar happens, they often look toward the individual they trust most. Imagine you're walking together and your dog hears an unusual sound. They pause, their ears shift, their body becomes still. Then they glance toward you, not because they need instructions, but because they need information. Your reaction helps them decide how to interpret the situation. Behavioral scientists call this social referencing. Young children do it with their parents. And remarkably, dogs do something very similar. When your dog looks at you and sees calmness, they borrow your confidence. When they see reassurance, they borrow your sense of safety. In that moment, you become their emotional compass. The next time your dog looks at you during an uncertain situation, resist the urge to immediately give commands. Instead, simply offer calmness, because in that moment, your dog isn't asking what to do. They're asking whether the world is safe. And your reaction becomes their answer. And surprisingly, the next sign has nothing to do with fear, obedience, or training. It appears when your dog is at their most physically vulnerable. The third sign may melt your heart. Your dog shows you their most vulnerable positions. A dog rolling onto their back is often misunderstood. Many people assume it always means they want a belly rub, and sometimes it does. But often, it means something much deeper. The stomach is one of the most vulnerable parts of a dog's body. Instinctively, animals protect it. In nature, exposing the belly can leave an animal defenseless. That's why most dogs don't casually reveal this area around individuals they don't fully trust. So when your dog stretches out beside you, rolls onto their back, or sleeps with their legs completely relaxed in the air, they're communicating something powerful. They're saying, "I don't feel threatened by you." Trust isn't proven when life feels easy. Trust is proven when vulnerability feels safe. And few gestures communicate vulnerability more clearly than this one. Yet vulnerability doesn't always happen when a dog is lying down. Sometimes trust reveals itself through a decision your dog makes dozens of times, every day. The fourth sign happens when your dog follows you even when they don't need anything. No food, no treats, no toys, no obvious reward. And yet somehow, there they are, following you into the kitchen, waiting outside the bathroom, lying beside your desk while you work. Many owners laugh and call their dog a furry shadow. But beneath that behavior lies a beautiful emotional truth. Dogs form attachment bonds, just like humans. When your dog repeatedly chooses to stay near you, they aren't simply monitoring resources. They aren't calculating where the next snack might appear. They're seeking connection. Your presence itself has become rewarding, not because of what you provide, but because of who you are. To your dog, being near you feels familiar, comforting, predictable, safe. Perhaps that's why so many owners notice the silence after their dog is gone. Not because the house is empty, but because no one is following them anymore. No familiar footsteps, no quiet shadow around the corner, no loyal companion who simply wanted to be wherever they were. That constant desire for closeness is one of the purest forms of trust a dog can express. But staying close during ordinary moments isn't the ultimate test of trust. Real trust becomes visible when a dog doesn't feel their best. The fifth sign is one of the most overlooked. Your dog lets you see them when they're emotionally tired. Humans often assume dogs are happy all the time, but dogs experience emotional fluctuations too. There are days when they're energetic and playful, and there are days when they're quiet, thoughtful, less interested in excitement. A dog who trusts you doesn't feel the need to hide every uncomfortable emotion. They can be restless, subdued, uncertain, and still choose to remain close to you. That's because trust isn't just about sharing joy. It's about feeling accepted when you're not at your best. Think about the strongest relationships in your own life. The people you trust most aren't the ones who only see you when you're smiling. They're the ones who remain beside you when you're struggling. Dogs understand this in their own way. And when they allow you to see their quieter, more vulnerable moments, they're revealing a level of emotional trust many owners never fully appreciate. And if emotional vulnerability reveals trust, fear reveals something even deeper. The sixth sign appears during moments of fear. Anyone can enjoy a relationship when life feels easy. Trust becomes visible when things become frightening. Thunderstorms, fireworks, a sudden loud noise, a stressful trip, an unfamiliar environment. When fear enters the picture, dogs instinctively search for safety. And the individual they seek first often reveals where their deepest trust resides. Think about that for a moment. When your dog feels frightened, their world suddenly becomes very simple. Find safety, find comfort, find protection. And if they come to you during those moments, they're showing you where they believe those things exist. Not in a toy, not in a bed, not in a hiding spot, in you. Fear strips life down to what matters most. And when your dog is afraid, they reveal something extraordinary. Of all the places they could run, of all the hiding spots they could choose, they choose you. Not because you're perfect, not because you always get everything right, but because in their eyes you are safety itself. Yet even fear doesn't reveal the deepest layer of trust. Because the most meaningful sign appears when your dog has absolutely no reason to choose you at all. The seventh sign may be the most beautiful of all. Your dog chooses you when they have other options. This is where trust transcends routine, because routines can explain many behaviors. But choice reveals preference. Imagine your dog in a room filled with exciting distractions, interesting smells, favorite toys, new visitors, activity everywhere. Yet after exploring the room, they return and settle beside you, not because they have to, because they want to. That choice carries enormous emotional weight. Your dog's world is filled with experiences competing for their attention, and yet, again and again, they return to the relationship, to the bond, to you. Perhaps that's the deepest definition of trust, not dependence, not obedience, choice. The beautiful thing about trust is that dogs give it so freely. They never ask whether you're successful. They never care about your mistakes. They never keep score. They simply decide that you are their person. And then they spend the rest of their lives proving it. One important note before we finish. If your dog's behavior suddenly changes, if they become withdrawn, fearful, unusually clingy, or stop showing behaviors that once reflected trust, it may not always be emotional. Pain, illness, cognitive decline, or other medical conditions can sometimes affect behavior. Whenever a significant behavioral change appears, it's always worth consulting a veterinary professional to rule out physical causes, because understanding our dogs means caring for both their emotional and physical well-being. But perhaps the most beautiful part of trust is that dogs never realize how precious it truly is. They don't count birthdays. They don't worry about how quickly time passes. They don't wake up wondering how many years remain. They simply live inside the moments they share with you. The morning walks, the familiar routines, the quiet evenings together, the sound of your voice calling their name. And every single day, without hesitation, they place their trust in your hands. Not because they have to, because they choose to. One day, there will come a morning when the sound of paws no longer follows you from room to room. One day, the place beside your chair will remain empty. And when that day comes, most people don't miss the obedience. They don't miss the tricks. They don't miss the commands. What they miss is the trust, the feeling that somewhere in the world there was a soul who believed completely in them, a soul who never doubted they would come home, a soul who felt safe simply because they were there. You'll miss the way they looked at you when they needed comfort, the way they searched for your presence during uncertain moments, the way they chose you again and again every single day. And perhaps that's the greatest gift a dog can ever give. Not obedience, not perfect behavior, not even loyalty, trust. A quiet promise that says, "My world feels safe because you're in it." So before you go, take a moment and think about your own dog. What is one thing they do that makes you feel trusted? I'd love to hear your story in the comments below, because every dog has their own beautiful way of saying, "You are my person." And that's a gift worth cherishing every single day.